May 2nd, 2011, Abbottabad, Pakistan. Two stealth Black Hawk helicopters fly low over the outskirts of the city. On board are 23 operators from SEAL Team 6, the most elite military unit in the United States, along with an interpreter and a combat dog. Their target is the man behind the September 11th attacks, Osama bin Laden. The mission is strictly classified. Pakistan has not been informed. If the team is detected, they will be treated as invaders on foreign soil. Less than a kilometer from the target sits a Pakistani military academy full of armed cadets and officers. After a decade of searching, United States intelligence agencies have finally located a fortified compound they believe is hiding bin Laden. The operation has 3 steps. First, land undetected. Second, breach the building. And third, neutralize or capture the target. The helicopters descend toward the compound. 40 minutes until the end of the mission. The plan calls for the first helicopter to hover over the roof of the main building, while the operators fast rope down and breach from above. The second is to land at the front, so they can assault simultaneously from 2 directions. But the moment the first Black Hawk attempts to hold position over the roof, the hot night air and the enclosed space between the compound's walls trigger a phenomenon called vortex ring state. The airflow from the rotor cycles back upward, and lift vanishes almost instantly. The pilot loses control and is forced to make a hard landing in the central courtyard. The tail rotor strikes the perimeter wall and shears off. This aircraft will never fly again. The second pilot reacts immediately and lands in the open field just outside the compound. No one is injured, but the entire entry plan no longer exists, 20 seconds into the mission. In the White House Situation Room, President Obama, Vice President Biden, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Secretary of Defense Robert Gates, and CIA Director Leon Panetta are watching live. 20 seconds in, and they've already lost 1 helicopter. The operators exit the aircraft, take their positions, and move toward the compound. 37 minutes until the end of the mission. On the ground, for the first time, the isolation of this compound becomes clear. The perimeter walls stand between 10 and 18 feet, topped with barbed wire. 2 separate security gates. No telephone line, no internet. Garbage is burned inside rather than taken out. Windows are blacked out on every side, and the balconies on the upper floors are enclosed with additional barriers, tall enough to block surveillance even from drones. 3 families live inside. The children have never attended school. To the neighbors, the owner is a man named Arshad Khan. He explained the tall walls as protection from enemies in his line of work. When the CIA identified the compound in the summer of 2010, analysts noticed something in the satellite imagery. A tall figure, approximately 6'4", walking the grounds every day but never stepping beyond the walls. They nicknamed him the Pacer. 9 months of surveillance, and not once did they see him leave. No photograph confirmed his identity, no voice recording either. The CIA even assembled an independent analytical team to challenge its own conclusions, and every time, the result was the same. No one else fit the profile as closely. The operators split into 3 groups. The first heads for the guest house, a smaller structure in the yard. The second moves toward the main 3-story building. The third stays outside to control the perimeter and manage the neighbors if they wake up. First target, the guest house. The group breaches the entrance and moves in. A man meets them with an AK-47 and opens fire. The operators return fire immediately and bring him down within seconds. The man's name is Ibrahim Saeed Ahmed, known by his alias Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti, Osama bin Laden's courier, and the man who unwittingly revealed the location of the entire compound. Finding him took the CIA 9 years. In 2002, detainees at Guantanamo began independently mentioning the same alias, Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti. They described him as a trusted associate of bin Laden, seen at Tora Bora just before the escape. When the CIA asked Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, the mastermind behind September 11th, about this courier, Mohammed downplayed him and claimed the man was retired, an insignificant figure. And when his successor, Abu Faraj al-Libi, was captured in 2005 and asked about the same individual, al-Libi fabricated a false name entirely to derail the investigation. Two of al-Qaeda's highest-ranking prisoners lying independently about the same courier. That is precisely what convinced the analysts. If this man were truly unimportant, there would be no reason to hide him so aggressively. By 2007, the CIA had established his real name. By 2009, they narrowed the area to the outskirts of Islamabad. And in August 2010, an intercepted phone call from Peshawar. Operatives followed a white Jeep with a distinctive rhinoceros image on the spare tire, hours of driving northeast, until the Jeep stopped in front of this compound. Back to the house. The courier now lies dead on the floor. His brother Abrar, also killed. The guest house is clear. The team reports over radio and moves to the main building. 32 minutes until the end of the mission. The second group enters the main building from the south entrance and begins clearing room by room. The ground floor is modest. Low couches with floral patterns, basic furniture. Across from the kitchen is an improvised classroom where the compound's children were taught Arabic, since none of them ever attended a real school. As the operators move through the corridor, a shadow shifts ahead. A man appears in one of the doorways, and the team opens fire. They enter the room and find a second man reaching for a weapon. He is neutralized instantly. The remaining rooms are cleared without resistance. But at the base of the staircase to the upper floors stands a massive metal security door. Standard breaching charges cannot open it, and a more powerful explosive would wake the entire neighborhood and accelerate the response from the military academy less than a kilometer away. The team sets precision-directed charges, strong enough to break the lock, but quiet enough to avoid drawing attention. While the charges do their work, the operators wait. 28 minutes until the end of the mission. December 2001, 3 months after September 11th. The Tora Bora mountain complex in eastern Afghanistan, 30 kilometers south of Jalalabad, right on the Pakistani border. Bin Laden is here, dug into caves and tunnels he himself helped build during the war against the Soviets. He knows every pass, every trail, every hiding place. Around 500 of his men are sheltered in the mountains. A combination of American Special Forces, CIA operatives, and local Afghan militias surround the area. Airstrikes are relentless, up to 100 per day. Between December 4th and 7th, over 700,000 pounds of ordnance fall on Tora Bora. One of the bombs is the 15,000-pound BLU-82, so massive it has to be rolled out the rear ramp of a C-130 cargo plane. It hasn't been used since Vietnam. When it detonates, the mountains shake for miles. Fighters captured later describe people deep in the caves being vaporized by the blast wave. On December 14th, convinced he is going to die, Bin Laden writes his last will. He asks his wives not to remarry and apologizes to his children for choosing jihad over them. He records a farewell message. The CIA and field commanders push for at least 1,000 American Rangers to be deployed to block the mountain passes into Pakistan, the only realistic escape routes. General Tommy Franks refuses. The decision is strategic. Minimal American boots on the ground. The local Afghan militias are supposed to handle it. They don't. Around December 16th, Bin Laden walks out on foot with a handful of bodyguards and an armed escort provided by a local warlord. He crosses the mountain trails without encountering a single American soldier. He disappears into Pakistan's tribal territories, a vast, ungoverned zone where no law fully applies, and for the next 9.5 years, no one sees him. Back to the operation. The metal door is open. The staircase is clear. This time there are no mountain passes, no tribal territories, no way to escape. This team will not make the same mistake. 26 minutes until the end of the mission. The operators climb the dark staircase slowly, step by step. weapons raised. Footsteps above. Someone is awake and moving. A young man in a white t-shirt appears at the top of the staircase, leans over, and looks down. The operators neutralize him immediately. It is Khalid bin Laden, one of Osama's adult sons. His father is on the floor directly above them. The second floor turns out to be the operational nerve center of the entire compound. 3 rooms packed with computers, hard drives, laptops, USB devices, and documents. Bin Laden has not used a phone since 1998, when an American missile tracked him through a satellite call made by an associate nearby. Since then, not a single call, not a single email. All messages are written by hand or recorded onto USB drives, then carried by couriers hundreds of kilometers from the compound before being transmitted electronically. No digital footprint, no signal to trace. A system so primitive that it is nearly impossible to crack. That is precisely why it took 9 years to get here. The value of the information in these 3 rooms is impossible to estimate at this moment, but there is no time for estimates. Next, the 3rd floor. 21 minutes until the end of the mission. The CIA cut the power to the entire neighborhood in advance. The 3rd floor is submerged in total darkness, and even with night vision, the operators can barely make out the contours of the narrow corridor ahead. They advance in a column, slowly, breathing controlled, listening for any movement ahead. A shadow passes quickly in front of them and enters the room on the left. The lead operator follows and opens fire. The rest rush into the room immediately after him. Inside, they find 2 women in shock, bin Laden's wives. In the corner, children lie curled together, crying. On the floor in front of them, a tall man with a graying beard. The code word is transmitted over the radio. Geronimo. Enemy killed in action. Local time is just past 1 in the morning, nearly 10 years after September 11th. Osama bin Laden is dead. 18 minutes until the end of the mission. The target is eliminated, but the mission is far from over. An alarming message comes over the radio. The nearby Pakistani military base has detected activity and scrambled fighter jets. Local residents, woken by the crash landing, are coming out into the streets. The window for a safe exit is closing with every second. Part of the team prepares the body for transport. DNA confirmation is mandatory. Meanwhile, another group returns to the 2nd floor and grabs everything that can be carried. Hard drives, laptops, USB devices, handwritten notes, and bin Laden's personal journal. Before leaving, the crashed Black Hawk must be destroyed. The aircraft carries classified stealth modifications that cannot fall into enemy hands. The charges detonate and the helicopter burns. A backup Chinook arrives from Afghanistan. The team boards. 40 minutes after landing, everyone is airborne. Not a single one wounded, not a single one lost. The body is transported to the aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson in the Arabian Sea, where DNA analysis confirms the identity. The body is lowered into the ocean. At 11:35 p.m. on May 1, 2011, President Obama addresses the nation and announces the death of Osama bin Laden. The materials seized from the compound reveal approximately 470,000 files, internal al-Qaeda communications, operational plans, and bin Laden's personal journal. 9 months after the operation, Pakistani authorities demolish the compound. Today, all that remains is a concrete foundation. 23 went in, 23 came out. He didn't.